The rise of Mandalore as the center of the rebellion against the Empire would radically alter the Star Wars galaxy, reshaping alliances, strategies, and the eventual downfall of Emperor Palpatine. Mandalore, a world of fierce warriors and a rich history of independence, would provide the rebellion with a unique foundation. It would serve not only as a strategic stronghold but also as a symbol of unyielding resistance against oppression. The Mandalorian culture, rooted in honor, combat, and resilience, would likely inspire a different approach to the rebellion's tactics. Unlike the scattered cells that initially characterized the Rebel Alliance, a Mandalore-led rebellion would be far more cohesive and militaristic. The Mandalorians, known for their formidable warriors and advanced technology, would create an immediate shift in the power dynamics of the galaxy. Their legendary Beskar armor, resistant to blaster fire and lightsabers, would make their soldiers formidable adversaries for the Imperial forces. Under the banner of Mandalore, the rebellion would gain access to not only the planet's strategic location but also its reputation. Mandalore's central role would attract warriors, freedom fighters, and disenfranchised systems seeking refuge from the Empire's tyranny. This would quickly transform the rebellion from a loosely organized resistance movement into a disciplined and battle-hardened military force. With Mandalore's influence, the rebellion would possess an unmatched capacity for organized combat, a feature that could change the very nature of the struggle against the Empire. Key to this development would be the Mandalorian leadership. Figures like Bo-Katan Kryze or even a reformed Boba Fett could rise to prominence, leveraging their tactical expertise and combat experience to unite various factions. The presence of such leaders would establish Mandalore as a credible threat to the Empire, forcing the Imperial military to divert considerable resources to suppress the planet. This diversion would weaken the Empire's grip on other systems, allowing rebellion to spread like wildfire. The symbolic resonance of Mandalore's resistance would also be profound. Known throughout the galaxy for their unbreakable spirit, the Mandalorians would become a beacon of hope for oppressed worlds. Their defiance of the Empire would send a powerful message, igniting rebellion in the hearts of countless individuals. Systems that had previously hesitated to join the fight might be emboldened by the Mandalorians' example, swelling the rebellion's ranks and creating a broader coalition against the Empire. From a strategic perspective, Mandalore's location in the galaxy would make it a critical hub for operations. Its position would allow the rebellion to strike at key Imperial targets with precision, disrupting supply lines and destabilizing the Empire's infrastructure. The Mandalorians' intimate knowledge of warfare would enable the rebellion to wage an asymmetric campaign, combining guerrilla tactics with conventional assaults to devastating effect. The Empire, accustomed to overwhelming its enemies through sheer force, would struggle to adapt to the Mandalorian way of war. The Empire's response to this uprising would undoubtedly be swift and brutal. Coruscant, the center of Imperial power, would become the staging ground for a massive campaign to crush Mandalore. The Emperor would likely deploy his most ruthless enforcers, including Darth Vader, to ensure that Mandalore's rebellion was extinguished. This confrontation would set the stage for some of the most dramatic battles in the galaxy's history, as Mandalore's warriors clashed with the Empire's vast military machine. The Mandalorians' defiance would also draw the attention of other key players in the galaxy. The Jedi, scattered and hunted after Order 66, might see an opportunity in Mandalore's rebellion to strike back at the Empire. While the Mandalorians and Jedi had a long history of conflict, a common enemy in the Empire could pave the way for an uneasy alliance. Such a collaboration would be fraught with tension but could also prove incredibly effective, combining the Jedi's mastery of the Force with the Mandalorians' unparalleled combat skills. Moreover, Mandalore's central role in the rebellion would create a domino effect across the galaxy. Systems like Ryloth, Onderon, and Lothal, already simmering with rebellion, would be emboldened by Mandalore's example. The Empire would find itself stretched thin, forced to fight on multiple fronts as resistance movements gained momentum. This widespread rebellion would create opportunities for sabotage, espionage, and large-scale assaults that could cripple the Empire's ability to maintain control. As the rebellion grew, the stakes would rise, and the conflict would escalate. The Mandalorians, though formidable, would face immense challenges. The Empire's resources, from its massive fleets to its dark side enforcers, would pose a constant threat. The Mandalorians' survival would depend on their ability to adapt, innovate, and forge alliances. Their resolve would be tested as they fought not only for their own freedom but for the liberation of the galaxy as a whole. As the rebellion solidified around Mandalore, the nature of galactic politics would begin to shift in unforeseen ways. The Empire's oppressive tactics, particularly the subjugation of worlds through fear, would falter in the face of Mandalore's resistance. The Mandalorians' refusal to bow to the Empire would become a rallying cry, inspiring systems that had previously acquiesced to Imperial control out of self-preservation. The Galactic Senate, already weakened and largely symbolic under Imperial rule, would see renewed vigor as senators sympathetic to the rebellion began to covertly support Mandalore's cause. The contrast between Mandalore's warrior culture and the Empire's bureaucratic authoritarianism would become a defining theme of the conflict. Mandalorians, bound by their creed and traditions, would present a stark alternative to the Empire's oppressive homogeny. This ideological clash would resonate deeply with those who yearned for freedom, autonomy, and dignity. The rebellion's appeal would shift from a scattered cry for liberty to a movement deeply tied to Mandalore's principles of honor and resilience. The message was clear: resistance was possible and victory could be achieved. The resources brought to the rebellion by Mandalore would also extend beyond its warriors and technology. The planet's forges, capable of crafting unparalleled weaponry and armor, would become invaluable assets. Rebel soldiers, often poorly equipped in the original timeline, would benefit from the tactical edge provided by Mandalorian craftsmanship. Beskar weapons and armor could turn the tide of critical battles, enabling the rebellion to face the Empire on more equal footing. Such advantages would transform rebel units into elite strike teams capable of dismantling even the Empire's most fortified installations. Mandalore's ascension as the heart of the rebellion would also force the Empire to reevaluate its priorities. Coruscant's leadership, including the Emperor and his closest advisors, would find itself increasingly preoccupied with the growing threat posed by Mandalore. This preoccupation would create opportunities for other rebel cells and systems to strike while the Empire was distracted. The Outer Rim, where Imperial control was traditionally weaker, would become a hotbed of rebellion. Smugglers, pirates, and even independent mercenaries might be swayed to join the cause, enticed by the promise of disrupting the hated Empire. The role of the Mandalorian leadership in maintaining unity among the rebellion's diverse factions would be crucial. Bo-Katan Kryze, for instance, would need to balance the Mandalorian desire for autonomy with the broader goal of galactic liberation. This would require delicate diplomacy, as not all systems or cultures would align perfectly with Mandalorian values. Yet, the Mandalorian's reputation for honor and loyalty could bridge these divides, fostering a sense of shared purpose among the rebellion's disparate members. As the conflict intensified, the personal stakes for key characters in the Star Wars universe would grow. Figures like Leia Organa, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo would find their roles fundamentally altered by Mandalore's centrality. Leia, a symbol of hope and resilience, would likely form a deep alliance with the Mandalorian leadership, merging the political acumen of the Organas with the martial prowess of Mandalore. Luke, as he trained in the ways of the Jedi, would face the challenge of reconciling the Jedi's pacifist ideals with the Mandalorian's warrior ethos. This tension could lead to moments of profound growth, as Luke learned to balance compassion with the necessity of decisive action. Han Solo, ever the pragmatist, might find himself both fascinated and frustrated by the Mandalorian's rigid codes. His roguish charm and outsider perspective could serve as a bridge between the rebellion's military and civilian elements, helping to forge alliances with smugglers, bounty hunters, and other independent operators. These relationships would be vital in securing supplies, intelligence, and unconventional support for the rebellion. Meanwhile, the Empire's efforts to crush Mandalore would reach a fever pitch. Darth Vader, a figure of fear and power, would become deeply involved in the campaign against Mandalore. His personal vendetta against the Jedi and his desire to prove the Empire's superiority would drive him to confront the Mandalorian leaders directly. These clashes would lead to some of the most intense and dramatic battles of the rebellion, as Mandalorian warriors and Jedi survivors faced off against the Sith Lord and his forces. Mandalore's resilience would come at a cost. The Empire's strategy of overwhelming force would result in devastating losses for the Mandalorians and their allies. Entire clans might be wiped out, cities reduced to rubble, and the planet itself scarred by relentless bombardment. Yet, these sacrifices would only strengthen the rebellion's resolve. Each act of Imperial aggression would galvanize the galaxy further, exposing the Empire's cruelty and solidifying Mandalore's role as the heart of the Resistance. The final stages of the rebellion, with Mandalore at its center, would culminate in a climactic struggle that combined military might, political strategy, and personal heroism. As the rebellion pushed closer to Coruscant, the Empire's desperation would become palpable. The Emperor, sensing the growing threat to his reign, might even resort to dark and ancient Sith rituals in a bid to maintain control. Yet, the unity forged under Mandalore's leadership would prove unbreakable. The ultimate liberation of the galaxy would bear the indelible mark of Mandalorian influence. Victory would not come easily, nor without great sacrifice, but it would be shaped by the Mandalorians' unwavering commitment to freedom and their refusal to surrender. The galaxy, inspired by their example, would emerge from the shadow of the Empire stronger and more united than ever before.